The second module, which we will cover in the Cloud Security Essentials training course, is the data security, cloud data security. As we mentioned, that the training courses, it covers only 5 modules. The module which we will discuss now, it is the cloud data security module. What are the topics which we will cover? The design and apply data security strategies, data protection, security concepts relevant to cloud computing, and these are the main 3 modules which we will cover, or I mean components which we will cover in this module. Let's start with the first component for design and apply data security strategies. This is very important, gentlemen. I really appreciate your concentration, because we will go through very important concepts which I want you to be familiar with. And even if you don't have enough information about these things, I want you to dig more and get more information by attending courses, by searching over the internet, by reading some articles. It's very important to understand these concepts, because they are very, very, very important for the cloud security. Number 1, it is the encryption. Number 1, it's the encryption. You remember when we said that the encryption is considered the backbone in the isolation process of the cloud implementation, because in the cloud implementation, it's a multi-tenancy. And when we're saying that multi-tenancy, this means that multiple users, we are using or sharing the same host or server, and we are accessing the application together. This, it can represent a problem when we have to enable the isolation, when users will not, or customers will not be able to read the information for each other. How we can do this? It can be done by encryption. In encryption, we can enable encryption in multiple data states. We have 3 data states. State number 1, which is called data at rest. Data at rest. What is data at rest? Data at rest, this means that the data, it's stored on the server, stored on the storage, stored on the desktop or whatever. The second state, it's data in transient. Data in transient. What is data in transient? Data in transient, that the data, it's exchanged or it's moved between host and the client, or maybe other users. And this is the data, it's exchangeable between different hosts. The other state is a data in use, where the data in use, this means that the application, it's accessing the data, and it's processing the data. For example, your application accessing the data from the database. This is considered as data in use. These are the 3 states of the data, and as we mentioned that we have to enable encryption with the 3 types of data. First one, data at rest. You have to use, for example, IPsec. The data in transient, you have to use the TSL or SSL, and data in use, of course, will not be able to use any encryption, because the data, it's accessed by the application and it must be accessible, but the application, it should be secure, as we will highlight this in the module number 4 in application security. The other issue for the challenges for the encryption, that encryption, as we mentioned, that it increases the performance. Decryption, it will decrease the performance. And in some situation, it may decrease the bandwidth as well. Then challenge number 1, that it will decrease the bandwidth. Why? Because it will add some additional packets over the traffic. It will add some additional packets over the traffic. Also, it will affect the performance because it requires encryption, decryption, and this it will be a little bit complicated process, and it can decrease the performance a little bit. And the most important in the cloud security, when we are saying that it will consume memory and the processor for encryption, decryption, this means that it will increase the charge for the cloud service invoice, because it's paying as you use. And if you are using decryption, encryption, then this means that you are using additional processor and additional memory for the process of encryption, decryption. And this, again, it will be additional charges. And using the encryption, it will create performance issue. It will create increase the resources, and consequently, it will increase the charges. But again, encryption, it's very important because it will create the real isolation between different users. The encryption implementation, as we mentioned that in the encryption implementation, we have three different data states, data at rest, data in transient, and data in use. And this you can use IPsec, for example, for data at rest, data in transient, you can use TLS or the SSL, and this can protect the data and your information. Of course, my friend, encryption is very important topic. Encryption is very important topic. As security specialists, you have to be aware about the about some important topics. You have to understand, if you want to work as security professional, you have to understand some topics very clear. Without this information, I will not be able to say that you are qualified to work in security. What are these topics? Number one, encryption. You have to understand the cryptography very well. You have to understand what is the meaning of key management. You have to understand the algorithms. You have to understand the concepts of the encryption, especially the encryption. This it will represent a very important process, as we mentioned, for the users who are trying to access the applications or whatever. The other thing which I want you to be aware about it as a security professional, it is the risk management. Risk management, it is very important topic. Again, if you want to be as a professional security engineer, you have to understand the basics of the risk management. And you have the encryption, you have the risk management. These are very important topics I want you to be aware about, because otherwise, if you don't have enough information about these topics, I am really sorry to tell you that you will not be able to say I'm working in security. By the way, as I mentioned in our group, we have courses for cryptography, and I think we have 2 or 3 of you make a reservation to attend the course. I'm not sure, it may be after 2 weeks, and we have another course for the risk management as well. It may be after 3 or 4 weeks, and all these courses are for free. All these courses are for free, and I really will be very happy if I see all of you attending these courses. Anyway, let's continue. We discussed the encryption and now the hashing. What is hashing? Hashing, it's a part which it will be covered in details during the cryptography field. Course, I mean. But what is hashing? Let me give you a quick idea about the hashing. What is the hashing and what is the feature of the hashing? Look, my friend, now suppose that I have a message like that. This is a message or packet. Let's say it's a packet or message or whatever. And I want to send this message from one host, from host 1 into host 2. Okay, then I will make some processing over this one where it will create a hash, and this hash, it will have a fixed length. whatever the size of the message, it will create fixed length. Let's say it may be 160 byte or whatever it is. However it is, it will be a fixed size. Let's say 160 bytes. In some other situation, it may be 256, 512 or whatever. Let's say the basic one, the 160 bytes. I will send as host number 1 with 2 into user number 2. User number 2, he will say, wow, I received message and a hash. What can I do with the hash? Nothing. Just keep it right now. Just keep it aside right now. I will not be able to do anything. I will take the message itself and I will go again into a hashing process. I will make a hash on it. As we create this hash, I will call H. The host number 2, it will create again using the same technique. He will create H. Okay. Then now he have this H. Let's say this H1 and this H2. What he will do? He will compare H1, which he received with the message, with H2. If both of them are the same, then this means that the message is accurate and there is no changes happened over the message. Because if the message it changed, the hash, it will be different. But if the message, it will be the same, then the hash should be the same. Then if H1 is similar as H2, then both of them, it will be the same, and this means that the message, it's not changed. There is no hackers who was able to change it or make any unauthorized changes or whatever. This is the usage of the hash. During the cryptography, we will speak a lot about this, algorithms, and a lot of other information we will highlight it, as this as the general concept to understand the meaning of hashing. Key management. This key management, again, we will cover it in the cryptography, but again, what do you mean by key management? Let's speak in more details about the encryption. What are the components of the encryption? The components of the encryption, number 1, you have data. You have data, which you want to encrypt. Then it will go to something called encryption algorithm. Encryption algorithm. And the encryption algorithm, it will use something called key, encryption key. This encryption key, it's very important, and it will create something called cipher. It will call something called cipher. This cipher, which it will be used, this is the encrypted data. Then we have here data, we know it. Encrypted cipher, we know it. But what is the algorithm? Algorithm, this is the algorithm, it will be used to encrypt the data. And it will use the key. Key is a very important component, and this key, it will be used to encrypt the data. Without the key, the user, he will not be able to encrypt or decrypt the data. And the key, it will represent the secrecy of the encryption. Why the hacker, when he receives the cipher, he will not be able to decrypt it? Because he does not have the key. He does not have the key, then he will not be able to decrypt the data. The key, it is very important. Why? Because you have, number 1, to create or generate the key. You have to generate the key for you as a user or as a system or whatever. In the chat, I have a question from Andy. Does it mean that it cannot be hacked? Sorry, what do you mean? What is it, Andy? I don't know. What do you mean? Can you tell me what do you mean by it, please? Because I did not understand the question. When you have to generate the key, you have to pack up the key, you have to recover the key, because the key may be lost. Suppose that I have my desktop, I am very happy, and my notebook is going great, and my key, it's stored on the notebook, but for some reasons, it's the motherboard, it's burned. Then what can I do? I have to go quickly. I have IT certificates. I have a training today at 7 o'clock for my colleagues. I will go very quickly, buy a new PC, and I want to make the calls. Then this means that I have to get this key machine very quickly. But the new machine does not have the key. What can I do? Then this key, I have to recover it from a backup. Then I have to generate the key. I have to make a backup. I have to recover it. And also I have to distribute it. Because if I want to share encrypted message with MT, for example, or with Badr, or with Abdullah, or anyone, I will not be able to do this if he does not have the key. He will not be able to decrypt the message and read it. Then he will not be able to read the message. Then I have to share the key with him. And this is what we call it key management. If the key is lost, can it be hacked? Here there is a difference between lost and exposed ND. When you say lost, if it's lost and no one he will be able to get it, then it's not hacked. But if it's lost and, for example, you have a notebook and you lost your notebook, or someone steal your notebook, and the user, the thief, he was able to open the machine and get the key, yes, it can be hacked. And this it will be critical, and you have to immediately block this key. This is very important. Then it will be something which you have to be very careful. And I really appreciate if you can attend the cryptography course with us. We will cover a lot of concepts about the key management and all this information as well. Okay. Another point, which is called tokenization. I'm quite sure that you are familiar with tokenization. What is tokenization? Tokenization, my friends, it is the process of hiding data. So simple like that. The definition is very easy. Just I want to tell you something. In security, you can know